Hello, precious people. I'm Jacqueline Parks, and welcome to my studio, Stampin' Turtles. I think I forgot to do something, so hold on one second. Turning this off, see if that makes any difference. Hopefully it will work. Because I forgot to go off my Wi-Fi, and it's connected now, so through wire. You need wire when you connect to the internet when you go live. So, anyways, I think I'm going live, so we're good. We're good. Anyways, today we're going to do pet portraits, which is really a cool kind of thing that I just started yesterday doing in-person classes for pet portraits, and I realized at the end that we need 3 hours rather than 2 hours to do the whole class because we did not finish our portraits, which I guess I am a very fast painter, so a lot of times I do pet portraits in an hour. Like, it depends on the size, but for the most part I do them in about an hour. So it's like, whoa, these, I have to remember not everybody's fast like that, and that I need to remember to just be a little more slow in how I teach, perhaps. But they were really great. I want to show you some pictures in a little bit of our class. I did not get any pictures from them of what they had done, but I do have mine that I did. And we're going to just start a brand new one, though, today instead of finishing the one I started. Because really, you don't want to see like just the last portion of a pet portrait being done. You want to see the whole thing start to finish, correct? And there's a lot of ways to approach it. And I have this one. Let me show you what I'm going to start you off with. This is tracing paper. And so tip number one, when you're doing a pet portrait, you want to make sure that you have a wonderful, perfect drawing. Maybe not perfect. That might be a little too much pressure to put on yourself. But when you have tracing paper, you're able to do a lot of things. Okay. And I got this little drawing kit from Hobby Lobby. It has a bunch of cool stuff in it that are no longer in here, but that's okay. The cool thing I'm using today is this charcoal pencil. It did have some other, did it have some other charcoal pencils? Maybe not. It had erasers and things and a ruler. All of that is missing now. That's okay. But today we're going to be painting, I don't know who we're going to paint today. Let me see who we're going to paint. Let me see. I have so many pictures on my phone. Let me see if I can find a good one. It's always important to have a good drawing. Now, tracing, when we're tracing something, you would print this out on your printer, black and white, and trace just the outline. And then after you do that, you would, like, let's just say your image on here. Do I even have anything I can use? Probably not. So, okay, this is not a pet, but let's say this was your printout of your pet. You could trace your pet on here, like let's just say this is a lotus flower. Let's say that's your pet's face. Then you want to put it on paper, right? So on the back side is where you go kind of like this. And you fill that whole thing in. You can buy carbon paper, but for some reason my local Hobby Lobby didn't have it. And so now we're going to start our real painting, and you would be able to trace this and it would transfer. So I'll just do a little bit of it, and it probably won't even need to erase it. Who knows? But it will make a line. You can't see because it's just way too light of a print on there, but you can basically get the idea. So that's one way to transfer an image onto your paper. Why are you focusing? Focus. So if you're not able to get transfer paper, you can use a light box, because sometimes if you put this on top of your photo, on a light box, then you can see images come up. So that's always fun. And I'm going to just type in dog on my phone. Let me see if I can find a dog on here. I have so many pictures of my doggies. I haven't done my Reese. Well, I did her once, but this was a cute picture of my little Yorkie. He's so cute. So cute. So I might do that, but then you can't really see his eyes. Maybe not. I kind of want to do something with really good eyes. Let me see. I mean, this is Reese, and look at those eyes. Can you see my Reese in her eyes? That might be good. I haven't done this one of her. So let's do that. And I'm not even going to worry about a transferring. I'm going to just freehand this little girl. Go freehand her. So that's always something you can do. If you're good at drawing, you can do this, okay? If you're not good at drawing, use the tracing method, okay? But I'm going to try to do this freehand. You know, maybe make that a little smaller. And erasers are my best friend because I'm always kind of doing this. And I love this thing. Did I ever show you this thing? This is like a little thing and it vacuums up all of your shavings. So if you don't have something like this, you need it. It's really cool for when you're erasing. Now, the most important thing I think when you're doing something like this is you want to do the eyes really good, okay? So if you can't get them eyes really good, that's what's going to be hard. And you want to leave like a little white area, basically. And there's the little glint. If you accidentally paint this so that you cannot, there's no white preserved at all, guess what you can do? You can use one of these white gel pens. And these are great for adding final touches, whiskers, things like that. So we are trying to do this. And if you render the eyes really good, then you'll be able to do this. I think his eye is in too close together. So I'm going to erase that part. And give him a handy dandy little thing. Ooh, I love that thing. It's so much fun. Okay, so now I'm seeing this is where I want the eye. And that's a little bit better. That's a little better. And she's got some rules. She's got her little collar. And see, I'm doing such a quick little sketch, y'all. This is not a perfection sketch. But that's what you kind of need when you do these things, is having more of a perfect drawing. But because I don't have my little perfect drawing, we're just gonna see what happens. Okay, we're gonna pray that it turns out and hopefully looks fairly good. And maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. We'll see. I'm not gonna put the little hat in there. I think, yeah, I'm not. Oh, her booty's bigger. Let's do that. Her booty bigger. Yeah. Okay, so we have not done this dog before, except for on a tiny little ornament that I do for Christmas time. So if you guys are interested in having an ornament done of your pet, let me know. I do them for Christmas time, but if you want to get ahead of the game and have it ready and not be stressed about the time of it. So this is as good as I think we're going to get with this little pup. With this little pup. We'll see. We'll see if that's a good enough drawing. We'll see. She got like some little ear flaps. She got a little white spot right there. Alright, so this is basically what we got, okay? We got a drawing, and it's not too bad, but that's basically what we're gonna do. So first things first, do you want background or no background? We could leave the background white, which a lot of people like to do, or we can have a blurry kind of rendered background. I don't really want what's in the photo, so I'm just gonna kind of, I'm just gonna be probably doing a very simple background, just maybe a color that's kind of blurry and not worry about it too much. But we always start with our clean water, and I showed everyone how to do the eyes first yesterday. Why is my throat? I just drank some tea, y'all, and it's got honey. All right, so we're gonna fill in this one eye, and we're gonna try and keep that one little white area, okay? And we can go ahead and do both. Let's do both. This is just clean water. Clean water. And now we're going to use a smaller brush. I like this one for like a medium range. And so I've learned a lot of things too from teaching. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to teach it. And so I've definitely been learning a lot by showing other people what I know. So now we're just going to fill in. This is so light, y'all. I want you to understand what watercolor really is. Watercolor is about layers. And so we don't want to make it look like what it's supposed to look like the first round. This is very simple layering techniques that we need. I might put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. But see how it's kind of, let me see if I can zoom in, if that will help. So see how it's just kind of spreading out, and I like that color mixing on the page. It's fine. It's just doing its little thing. It's gonna look ugly. There's always this stage of your paintings where it doesn't look like anything really good. But you gotta trust that in the end, with all the layers, it's gonna look good. And so let me see if I can put some more colors down. So while I'm waiting for my eyes to dry, guess what I'm going to work on next? Something that's not connected to the eyes. So we're going to do puppy's nose. And one of the things too I was realizing is how a lot of times people want to use a lot of strokes painting. And I don't know if you're noticing what I'm doing right now. I'm doing it with like very long strokes. I'm not using a bunch of dots. Now, I don't want to say right or wrong on any form of techniques that actually give you what you want in the end. If you're happy with how you painted, these are just my tips. I like doing where I fill in the whole area. So his whole nose is filled in. Her whole nose. She a girl. She a girl pup. But now, see how this is all filled in. I'm going to add just a little bit of Payne's Gray. And I did dry my brush a lot. So there's not a lot of water on my brush, just the paint. And that helps it to kind of stay put, because we don't want it to spread too far for these little nostrils, but we do like that soft feathering. that's going to happen. And sometimes there's like these darker areas. You got to really look at your picture. I don't know if I have this picture. I can put him. Can you see him? See? Her. Why did I say him? I don't know. But see the nose? This nose is turning out really good already. And that's not even the final. But sometimes I do something and I'm like, ooh, I like how that looks. And I don't want to kind of mess it up. So I just leave it. Like yesterday's painting of my Yorkie, I ended up really liking the ears. So I'm probably not going to paint over that. Now this is something you can do while your nose is still kind of wet because it kind of blends in there. But I like to add just a clear water to the edge and move that outwards. Because see how it's kind of going up and around? So we're just blending out what's already there and just making it go to the edge. And so sometimes we do that when it's kind of a white color, and that works out really good. And she does have kind of like white on her face. And so that's basically just making this darker muzzle area look more. That's too much water. If you get too much water, lift and dry your brush. So sometimes our brush has a lot of water in it. Sometimes our brush is not wet enough, and you can only really get that from trial and error, figure it out. And I like these little dots that are on the muzzle of puppies. But I'm going to let that dry because that's definitely going to be good right there, but we need to let it dry. And there might be a little bit of dark right under there. Alright, so I'm going to rinse my brush, dry my brush. I want it super dry right now. And just kind of lift out a little bit there because I think it started to go too far. I didn't want it to go all the way to the edge. So lift. You can use that technique as well. Put down too much color and then lift. So, yeah, my little puppy. I should have put that picture in a picture. Maybe next time I'll do that. But I do want to show you guys what I was doing because we're going to let this dry. So let me talk about what I was doing yesterday for my Yorkie. My little bit, he's so cute. So I printed it out in black and white, and I was using that as my tracing so that I could render it accurately. And then this is not done yet, but they definitely got the ears somewhat right, the nose and the eyes. Started to do a little bit of the shading of where it's darker and lighter. So black and white photos absolutely help. If you just do it on your phone and look at it in black and white, that helps. So definitely think about getting a black and white photo of it, or just making the gray tones on your phone instead of printing it. You can just look at your phone. I look at my phone a lot for all of my pet portraits that I do. And I did freehand this puppy. So if she don't look right, it's because I freehand. But I'm not too bad of a painter really when it comes to drawing. I mean, I did study it in school. It's just one of those things where you get better at it as you do it. And if you don't do it, you kind of lose it. So now I'm mixing up a color. I used a lot of what I already have on this palette, okay? So right here, I'm just mixing up some of my yellow and this orange and a little bit more of that burnt sienna. Use whatever colors you have. I bought this palette from Hobby Lobby. It's got 24 colors. You can mix pretty much everything from that. And I would start off, if you're just beginning, with a more inexpensive set of paints, just because it's a little easier on your budget. All right, so now I'm looking at my puppy, and she definitely has some darker areas up here. And kind of goes around. They all have that kind of like, I don't know if it's a widow's peak kind of like on doggies, but she's definitely getting a lot of gray in here. Now you might be like, this is not good at all, but you'll see what happens. You'll see. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. That's what we gotta trust, right? So now, see all that is really just where there's color. So now I'm going to take a wet, clean water brush. And I like to just smooth out those edges. I don't like harsh edges. So I'm smoothing them out. And that helps kind of move that paint around and loosen it really good. And there are areas that are still really white, so I haven't done too much. I gotta move my thing around. Let's see. I want to add a little brown to this, to the already mixed color. Add a little brown. And you want to start adding the parts that are darker, but this is not our rendering perfection stage yet. We are still in the kind of getting just some color on here. And more water, more yellow, because she does have a lot of yellow. She's not a yellow lab. She is like, but she's lab for sure. Maybe beagle in lab. I don't know what she is. She was the side of the road little puppy. Y'all rescue puppies on the side of the road when you see them? I hate it that there's dogs just dumped on the side of the road. It's like, really? But it's really hard to find shelters that are no kill, and I know it's hard. That's too yellow. But see how I just erase all that yellowness and water it down with some clean water? So I don't know if you guys can see what I have. I have like 3 cups today. I have 3 water cups, and so yeah, but she's turning out pretty good so far. So far she looks good. And I'm probably go back in here. Let's see what else we got. And you can just kind of use clean water, and that helps kind of spread it. And she's got a lot of fawn speckles on her chest. So sometimes what's kind of cool to do is just put clean water and then mix up some paint on your palette, and you can do that. And there's her little fawn speckles. And I just kind of did that real quick. And another thing, here's another tip, y'all. Too much water. Too much. But here's another tip, and I'm getting some blooms, but I don't really mind them. I'm not trying to get this perfectly rendered at the moment. I'm just putting down the main colors and the main areas and the folds of the skin a little bit, and this is going to be a blueprint for what I'm going to have at the end. And even looking at this on the computer screen, I can tell it's a little bit too yellow for my taste. I don't like how yellow it is, but the color is not as important as getting down the shading for the parts of the dog. And so like with my Yorkie, you can see where I put some color down under the muzzle, under the eyes, and I was trying to get just those spots, and I just filled them in like I did with my Reese Peasy Papa Girl. She is precious and has like all these little folds and stuff. She's a little chonkers. But I just basically got some of the color in there and where I want it. But it's not perfect. It looks like kind of a Picasso type puppy right now. So we're gonna work on mixing another color. So sometimes we get our colors and we need a little Payne's Gray to dull them up and make them a little darker. So if you can see that, right here, her muzzle is definitely darker right in here, but I might not be able to do this quite yet. I don't know. I feel like under here is a little darker. This line is a little darker, and you want to use a brush that you can get a fine tip on. That's what you'd want to try and get. And I'm just kind of going back around, getting that looking pretty good. Now the eyes are probably drying up a little bit, so I can go back in and start adding my darker browns in there. And again, this is layers. We're doing so many layers that it's going to be not the finished layer just yet, okay? Trying to avoid that little white spot. All right. So there's a lot going on with this eye. I don't know if it's looking quite good. I think this can go in a little bit more. There we go. And you do have to be careful when painting next to wet, because I can see it's already bleeding out right there. I don't know if you can see it. If I go up close, maybe you can see that. So it's just right here that I can tell it's kind of bleeding into this section. But because this photo has a little bit of dark right there, like you can zoom in and see there's some dark on the fur, like a dark area around the eye. So I'm okay with that bleeding out, and that's what you want. You kind of let your water do the work for you. You don't want to have to go back and paint every little spot. You want to be able to do what you want to let the water do its thing. So now I'm looking at this and I'm like, I think he's got a little bit, she's got a little bit right here that's dark and a little bit up here that's dark. So I'm going to mix in that darker color. See how it's still wet? So arch paper stays wet for a long time, which I likes, but I also want it to dry fast too. So I'm like, I want both. I want it to dry fast. I want it to be both. I want it to be both. Stay wet and dry. Do what I want at all times. So I'm just softening this edge, which you can do right this part now. You could do soften that edge, right? Because all of this is going to end up being filled in, but right now I'm just kind of softening all those little harsh edges because I don't like them. So there, we're getting that kind of softened. We're going to do a little bit more. We got to mix a little bit more of this with a little Payne's Gray. And we're just going to do, because it's still wet, it's going to be going where I want it to. And a little bit under this eye. Too much water on my brush. So I'm going to sop up all that water. I don't want it to just sit there and start making blooms. I don't want that. So you always have to have your paper towel in your hand and drying. Dry it, dry it, dry it. And then if you need more water, you got your water right there. But a lot of times I just keep dabbing it instead of going straight in there with lots of water. So she's turning out okay right now, but I think we do have a little excess water right there. Just dry that. So, I'm looking down here. It totally bled out all my little speckles. So I might need to add more speckles because I like those little fawn. And if you get speckles where you don't want them, you can always lift up with your clean brush and they disappear. Go back to the bigger view. So I did put some of these little speckles on her chest again because they were kind of disappearing. And you can lift any little spots out. Some people like to protect and cover areas, but I've just gotten pretty good at it. All right, now I'm going to mix my Payne's Gray and this brown. Payne's Gray and brown, any of your browns. You can play around with both of them, put both of their, it'll look good. So now we're just going to go in and we're going to see, make it a little thicker. And see, if you put it in there and it spreads out and it almost like disappears, probably still too wet to do anything. This one's kind of working. Oop, but going too much into there. So we can lift that up, dry, and lift. So I may hit that with the dryer a little bit so I can start painting a little bit more on there. Or I can go down to, oh, sorry, there's a glare on that. But look at how she's turning out already. She is turning out so great. She looks a little sad. She always sad because we're yelling at her to stop barking and stop eating everything that she shouldn't be eating. I don't know what color that is. Let's see. We can make it kind of a bluish color. I don't know. For her collar. And if you have silver on the collar, just leave it kind of a gray color. And what I like to do is go back and put highlights with a gel pen. So like going back to this thing, Jelly Roll. I get the 3-pack for like $5 at Michael's. So it's really, you got 3 sizes in there. So it's really good. You'll be able to find it. Now this is still kind of growing in size. If you don't have a little heat tool, you can use a hair dryer, but I'm just going to hit it with my heat tool. And there we go. So it should be still damp, but not as wet. And I'm going to mix up a little bit more of this darker Payne's Gray color because her eyes are pretty dark, right? So now we're going to start getting in there. We're going to start making it look even more dark. But see, how many times have I painted this eye? Quite a few. And I'm trying to be very careful how much I'm depositing in paint right here. Because I want that to be, it almost like goes around and touches in there. So, getting her eyes started. They're still kind of blurry because we're not putting details quite yet. We're not ready for that stage. And then I might add a little darker in there. And see, we're starting to get more details in there and it's coming along. Let me show you up close. See? She got those eyes, little doe eyes. She got little fawn spots and little doe eyes. Maybe she's part deer. Who knows? She could be a little part deer. If we found her on the side of the road, huh? I'm going to put a little bit more blue, I'm noticing, in here. Because that's like part of her collar is going that way. Yeah. So, another thing about this is that we're going to be going back in here with the darker Payne's Gray to Bring out that mouth. See her little mouth? She definitely has a cute little mouth. And this is funny because the ladies yesterday, all their doggies had short hair. And I was doing my Yorkie, which has longer hair. And it was just kind of funny that I was showing them how to do longer hair. But the short hairs, I don't know. You just need a couple of these little hairs. Like if you look at her mouth when you zoom in, if you can see that. See, her mouth is there's a couple little hairs. Um, but you really don't see a ton of fur like on her. You can see a little bit here in the eyes. She does have nicer eyelashes than me, so I'll have to make sure I do that with her fur. But a lot of the other parts, you're not going to see a lot of fuzzy fur. So it's just when you do render the ones that you can see, you're not going to do it to the point where you're doing every single one. Instead, you're just going to make it so that um, you just kind of get an idea. Like it's an impressionistic. Even though you're doing realistic paintings, it's impressionistic, right? Now I'm going to rinse my brush because that's really dark, and I'm going to dry my brush, and I'm going to touch it just a little bit because my brush is a little bit damp. And I'm just following as I'm looking at the picture. I'm letting my eye look at the picture while I do this because I want it to be accurate. So I'm looking at the shape, not the dog. I'm not trying to make a dog, I'm trying to make the shape. So sometimes we're so concerned with doing a dog that we don't see what we're painting. We see more that we're trying to make a dog. And so you might be like, oh, it doesn't look like a dog. So you're trying to make it look like a dog. Instead, I suggest that you do what you see. So I'm trying to get this line that I see. And I'm trying to get what's dark down here. It almost blends in with the muzzle right there. And it's dark right there. And so there we go. We got that nose going. And a lot of their paintings yesterday, and this is something I might do when I teach it again, is tell them to get a picture of their dog that's like close up, instead of far away, because we're not going to be able to learn how to make eyes and nose when you got like just two dots for a dog in the background, which, amazing stuff we saw in these paintings yesterday. And I'm blown away by their amazing talent already. And a lot of them have been coming to me for a year, and then there's one who's been coming just for a little bit, but I think she's been doing this already, so she's pretty good. And now see how I'm just dropping that Payne's Gray right in the center, and it spreads out? That is how we make eyes too. And her eyes are pretty dark, so I'm probably going to let that just dry like that, because she does have some dark eyes. She got dark eyes. I might make the nostrils a little darker too. I feel like I have too much water on my brush, like it's depositing too much water. So I'll probably just dry it off a little bit and then clean that up. But look at how she's looking so far. She is looking so cute. So cute. And this is not even done. Like, I hardly have any detail for her eye yet. I'm just getting like the pupil and kind of this part, and trying to preserve some of the lighter parts. They're not white. If you look at that, that's not white. Okay. That is pretty dark actually. So we're not even going to paint that yet. And I may have to do some of my wet gel to get some of these other little half moon reflections in there. And those are blue in a way, so we could even add some blue in there. Let your mind look and see, let your eyes look and see what you are actually painting But as we're waiting for those eyes that I just painted to dry, let's focus on this ear. So like the inside of the ear has a little bit of pink. So I might add just a little bit of pink. And that was very little. Like that was very little. And then I'm going to mix up some more of that kind of brownish Payne's Gray color. So see how I'm mixing. I need to have a better setup. Okay, so at my studio, I'm thinking about turning one of the rooms into like a filming studio. I think that would be really helpful for me. And then I could even rent it out to other artists who want to film videos. I don't know, if you're local, let me know if that sounds like something you'd want to do. I know there's a place in Mobile that does kind of similar things. They let you, now this is fur right here. So we need to make some little fur, if you can see that. So right in here, I'm seeing some little points for that fur, and it's in the folds, and it's going down. So that's fur right there. See how I'm making that fur? And I could go smaller. If you're not comfortable with the size of the brush you're using, go smaller. But see, I've got this already darker in there. And you can do a lot of stuff with smaller brushes. Like I've bought some recently, but I haven't opened the package of this exact brand of paintbrushes. They're really good. The Black Velvet Silver Edition. This one is a travel, but you don't need to get the travel. You can get the ones that don't travel. And they're less expensive. But Michael's had them on sale for like 25 bucks, y'all, for 3, which this one by itself was 25 bucks. So definitely, if you're gonna upgrade brushes, get a deal. Find deals when you can. But this is a good one, and it was a 4-pack, so I had like 4 of them in there, and they had different sizes. And this size, I wish the writing didn't wear off, because I would be able to tell you what size this is. I don't know if it's 6 or 8, but it's somewhere around there. 6, 8, 10, I don't know, something like that. So see how the ear is right there? And I might just wiggle my brush a little bit on those edges just to soften them, because I don't like these harsh edges really. I'm just going to wiggle it a little bit. Now this definitely has some edge that goes away. And so there's going to be, I'm going to need to mix some more yellow, but I'm going to mix it with some of this color. Let me zoom out so you guys can see me mixing a little bit. So this orange is like my light orange and a kind of a Naples yellow or something in there. But see, that's way too yellow, so I'm going to add a little bit of my burnt umber in there, and maybe a little bit of Payne's Gray in there. And that's going to mix that yellow lab color. So now I'm going to go and just we're looking at the shapes. We're not trying to make a dog. We're looking at the photo, okay? You don't want to be stuck looking at your picture. Don't look at your picture as much as you look at the photo next to your picture, because then you're looking at the photo and you're letting your hand go where it should be going, not where you think it should be going. So that's how you get more realistic. And see, I'm softening all this because I didn't want that real harsh edge. And you can also do this thing called dry brush technique, and see how it's making these kind of a fuzzier sides. So that makes kind of the texture of the fur. And I'm just going back in here. There's a lot that's like very beige, not yellow. But I've already kind of committed to doing some more yellow there. And if I really don't like it, I will mix in a little bit more of this brown, a little bit more Payne's gray. And then I can kind of darken some of these areas because that ear almost goes and disappears with the sides. So, and see how wet that is? And it's really spreading out. But that's okay. Sometimes we like that. Sometimes we want it to do stuff like that. I'm going to change this tone to kind of more the yellow. And I'm going to start adding back in darker areas. So you just kind of keep walking around the whole painting. And you don't want to keep looking at your painting. You want to keep looking at your photo. It's very important to have that photo. Now you may want to add some darker colors again. So that's like that. Oops, too dark. Let me get more brown. But that's kind of where it's looking like his muzzle. Her muzzle. Why I say he. I didn't know. She's a very, maybe she just seems like a very masculine dog. I didn't know. The shadow right here, I like that it's kind of blue. So I'm going to add just a little bit of blue right now. And that blue is going to make it look like there's a shadow in there. And it's actually under her eye too. And it's in the ear. So there's a little bit of blue in her ear. So I'm just kind of going around looking for those shadow areas with that blue. And we didn't get to this point yesterday. So I feel like we all need to meet up again and finish our paintings, because I feel like there was a lot that I didn't get to tell them about. It's like, no, you need to know all about this part. So I just added some blue, and you really can't even tell. Like, let me zoom in. Look at that. It doesn't even look like there's blue on the face. I just put a bunch of blue on the face, and you can barely tell. So her muzzle might need a little bit more blue, like right here. So very watery blue color to make it look like it's going that way. Going towards the ear a little bit. Now this is another trick that a lot of artists use, and I think it just comes with being, I did go to art school, and I learned color theory, which is super important. I was thinking I probably need to start doing a little bit of color theory with y'all, but I would like to just stress that I've learned this. I know kind of what happens with the mixing of colors, so that you know that blacks are not shadows. There are blacks, you can use black, but shadows are not black. In fact, the Payne's gray that I recommend to everybody. Oh, hey, sweetie, my little Jessica. Aw, Reese looks so cute. That's what she says. Yep, she do look cute, doesn't she? Does she look sad? I don't know. She always looks a little bit like we've been yelling at her. But, yeah, you want to definitely learn a little bit more about color theory. If you haven't, I think there are artists that just have a natural ability to create the colors that they see, and that would be really cool. But if you don't have that natural ability, guess what? You can learn it. because I learned it. And so um, I think last year in May, I did a whole series, or a whole workshop, I should say, not a series, a whole workshop about um, color mixing. And it was really, I enjoyed it, but it was a long class, like 5 hours. I forget how long that class was. My friend Kim, who came yesterday, she could tell you how long it was. Now I'm doing, let me see if I can get a little bit more shadow under there. And see, I'm using a lot of that brownish color to go under things and to make shadows. So definitely whatever your eye is seeing, trust your eyes to see it and do basically what you want it to do. Start trusting what you're doing. I know that seems hard to do, especially if you're starting out. But her little paw. She's so funny. And the angle of this is a little weird, so it's gonna definitely be something that I have to work with a little bit. But I think it's not too bad. That's too Payne's grayish. So see, I just mixed and removed. I wanted that dark, but I didn't want it to be black. Payne's gray. So now that's going in. She is looking really cute. Let's transition out. Oh yeah, look at that. She's looking good. She's looking good. And I need to still do the collar. So like yesterday we didn't get to really do collars. We didn't really get to do too much more, which was I was feeling a little bit like we were rushed at the end there. So definitely I'm going to be doing a repeat of this class Saturday. I told them they can all come back Saturday just to finish up theirs. And we can do new people if new people want to come. So let me see if I can make this a little darker, because I feel like that's very dark in there. And I feel like there's a lot of dark in here. So, but definitely you guys look at the shapes. You don't want it to be, I'm going to add some blue in here, because that blue is really blending out and becoming that nice shadow in there. And really the whites on her chest are more bluish than white. So I like making that a little bit more blue. That's looking good. And like when we're doing our shadows at the very end, usually like something like the dark area of the ear, we want to render that a little darker, but it's still kind of wet in there. I'm not sure if I want to mess with that. Maybe try a little bit of Payne's gray, but it's still just spreading. It's too wet. Can do a little bit onto mouth, a little bit more. We can make those little whiskeries. Little whiskery. And then the eyes. So let's zoom back in on those eyes. It's really hard when you print out your photo and then you can't zoom in on photos. That's really sad. Like I kept trying to zoom in on the photos. You can do it. So now I'm going to go in with my dark Payne's gray. And I'm going to go around the outside of that eye. See that? Is that zoomed in? Let's zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm doing the outside now, rim. And there's a little bit of something going on here. And there's a little bit on the top. And you just want your eyes to look and see what you're doing. So see how I'm doing that, and then I'm going to go back in and do that. So it's still doing, and there's like some dark right in the centers too. And you can try and preserve that white if you want. It's not make or break. We can work with it if we mess up, but it's just kind of easier if you try and avoid painting it, but you can always bring it back in. Like, it's okay if you do something and it's not quite right. So now I'm going in here, I'm making some of the little hairs with just the tip of my brush. And you can see that it's kind of going out. And I might zoom out just so I can see, because I'm going to rinse my brush, dry my brush, and just touch. See how it's kind of erasing that? Because it was too much. It's too much. Rinse, dry, repeat. So she's looking really good. She does have these dark eyes. I'm going to zoom back in on this other eye and look at that one, because there's definitely some Payne's gray going up here. So there's like a spot, there's like lots going on right here and around here. So I'm rounding that. But her eye is so dark, y'all. So we're just barely putting anything in there. And just adding a little bit in there of those little hairs, basically. But there's definitely some more brown under her eyes. So let me see if I can mix up that color I need. And go under the eyes and around. And see, this is where you gotta trust your vision, like to look at it and be, okay, I see what I'm seeing. And I'm gonna dry my brush completely and soften. I like to soften all that because it's just too harsh. I like it soft. So that's looking good. Then we zoom back out just so we can see the whole face, right? We got to see the whole face. So then we zoom out and just see if it looks like a dog. It's looking like my dog. Super cute. Her nose might be a little darker, so we might need to darken her nose area. Which, you know, if we're mixing up my Payne's gray with the browns, that I mix both my browns. So we may go back in and we may add this darker area in here. So it's almost like a triangle shape right there. Kind of goes with this, right? And I'm just trusting my eyes to see what I'm seeing. And not trying to be too persnickety, because sometimes we get a little fussy and we shouldn't be so fussy. Let's see how I'm just adding this here and there. Again, it's all about letting my eyes do the work and see what I'm seeing. So I may end up going darker on the nose. Maybe a little bit of red in there, because like I think the nose has some red in there. And see how I'm just making that darker? And it's looking pretty good, but I want to kind of soften those strokes I already made in here. So I'm going to kind of dry my brush and wiggle it around. just to soften some of these edges. See how that just softened it real nice. I may want to put some more in here. That helps too, and around the eye. It's almost like eyeliner. She almost has like eyeliner. She's got pretty eyes, y'all. She's such a pretty dog. She's pretty and she's sweet and loving. The thing about painting pet portraits, and I don't know if you've done it yet, if you're just starting, but when you get into painting people's pets for them, especially the ones that have passed, it can be a little emotional. I get a little emotional when I do it, and that's just because I love animals, you know. So I'm thinking that looks pretty good. That looks like her. It does need a little darker in there, but it's still so wet. I'm just going to let it dry a bit. And while that's drying, I may add my second layer for my collar, which was like this kind of a bluish color in here. But since we want to darken it up, let's use that Payne's Gray. So now I'm just going to go in here real gentle and make some darkening around some of these areas. And then as it goes up here, I'm not going to worry about changing color yet, but it's going to be a different blue in here. It's going to be a little darker. Same with this. It's going to be a little darker in there. But we're not going for the final look. We're doing layers and layers. So if you're into a more where you paint it in the first paint stroke and it stays that way the rest of the painting, acrylic painting might be better suit for you. And I actually used to paint with acrylic a lot more a long time ago, and then when I tried watercolor again in 2020, I was like, whoa, this is so much fun. I really love watercolor. So for me, it's the magic of watching things come alive, and I just enjoy seeing how this looks in the process of creating it, or the water just keeps moving around and blending on the paper, and it's translucent. It's just there's so many things about watercolor I have fallen in love with, so I really enjoy it so much. And I hope that by watching my videos, you've come to enjoy painting with watercolor as well. I'm trying to think if I should do a background on this guy. I'm a little papola. But you know what? I'm going to go in and do a little bit more dark on the collar, because that's going to really make it look more like dimensional and 3D. You know what I'm saying? It's going to look a little more 3D in there. And see, since that's all wet, it's bleeding outward from there, which is kind of cool. I like that. And it's making things that I would not be able to paint. Like, it's all magical right now. It's all doing magical things right now. So that really added some shadow in there. I like how that's looking. Might add a little bit more in there to that part. And she almost done, y'all. She almost done. I'm trying to think if I can use a little bit more to shade in there. Maybe. She just seemed to have quite a few little dark areas, but it's so hard sometimes to get thick enough paint that it doesn't flow too far away and start making some issues. But this is when I start getting the Holy Spirit moving, because I just let it start to create things for me to happen. And I love that the Lord has blessed me with this talent, and that He's using me to help others find joy in painting, and also to find comfort with their little animals that are being painted. And I definitely enjoy this a lot. And I'm just kind of putting some final touches. And probably concentrating a little bit here. And put a little bit more shadow in this little area and in this area. And maybe in there. Get a little bit more brown. Too much water. Always dry your brush if you got too much water on there, and sop it back up. Trying to think if I need to make another little bit of this color just to make it a little darker down in here. We got some and see how this dry brush is working. I don't know if you can zoom in. I love how this just looks like the fur, and that was something I wanted to show him yesterday. Didn't get around to. And then the little footsie. And I'm going to add just like the toes, barely, but I want them to look kind of like toes in there. A little bit like toes. But she's looking real good. She's looking real cute. I might put just a little bit of blue in this one eye right there. Maybe right in there. And maybe a little bit up there. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Now the background is something I could do. Let me see if there's something I can show you guys that would be like an easy background, because I feel like some people like that. They want to have like, they don't want it to be white all the way around. And so you need a large brush for that. I'm just going to use this one because I don't know where my other one. Or I could use, you can use this one, but I like a mop brush, which is like something like this, but it's larger. So this one is not a mop brush, but I can use it. I can use it. All right, so I've got somewhat clean water, and I'm just going to go around the outside of my doggy. I'm not being too exact, but what I want to do is try and avoid going back too far into the dog, but I want to make it so there's water, right? I want lots of water in there, and because this area is kind of light, I think it would look good with like this color, right? So it might look good with that color right there against it. And then on this side, we can add, like, there's some greens. So it could almost be like, hey, is that going to be grass? We don't know what that is. It could be grass. It could be the carpeting. It could be like some brownish stuff in there. So we're just going in here and just making it whatever we want. We can make this kind of grassy. So I'm just kind of doing whatever, and then softening that towards that side. But I can frame that now, and it would be really pretty and soft, and it would be my little puppy. And I would definitely wait for the eyes to dry before I put those little white gel highlights. But let me see if I can zoom in for y'all to see what I'm talking about. Like, I could put some little highlights in here now. It's still kind of wet. I can add some little highlights here and there, like the nostrils sometimes have little highlights at the bottom. With that, you can see kind of a little bit. And then like with this, you can get some silver reflective type paint, or you can just use your white gel pen. If you wanted to, you could go even darker on some of these areas. But you definitely need water. If you don't have enough water on your brush, you gotta add some. But you can definitely get some more detail in here. But it's more about just creating that illusion of the collar. But that's our puppy. That's our little Reese Piecey. Does she look cute? She do look a little bit cute, I think. She a cutie pup. And because I didn't do this in, I did it in about an hour. So it's pretty good for an hour painting, drawing and painting. So like sometimes I spend a little more time drawing than I did today. And this was freehand drawing, like, y'all. It actually turned out pretty good for that, I think. She do look cute. If I finish my Yorkie painting, I will post that too in like my Instagram. I have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Nextdoor. If you guys are Nextdoor, go on that app. I love that app. It's a great way to find local people, local community. I really want a community of artists that love Jesus and want to get together and paint. So a lot of times we listen to Christian music while we're painting, and we encourage each other in our faith walk. And to me, that's what's so important about community, is finding your people and getting together and encouraging one another. So today's scripture, let's see what we got. There's always a different verse from different places. Yeah, what is today? We got so many different good ones, right? I mean, have you ever opened the Bible randomly and just started reading? It's like, it always speaks to me. Well, this verse of the day, which is actually verseoftheday.com, says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." I think that's in, what is that? That is a psalm. Psalm 139, and it's 23-24. So, definitely I want the Lord to search my heart and help me to get rid of anything He doesn't like, that's not helping me in my walk, in my faith, in my testimony, and get rid of that. That's what the psalmist is asking the Lord to do, is just take out those things that you don't want, and make my heart be everlasting with you, Lord. So I feel like that's a good way to end today, is just to ask God to come into your life and to remove anything that's offensive to Him, because we don't want to be offensive to people or to God. We want to be the kind of people that when someone mentions your name, they're like, oh, she's sweet, she's kind. I've actually been playing this game online that is like so funny because my girls got me into it. And just the people I've met and kind of friended on this game have been so kind and generous. And we kind of have a joke. There's this one friend, her name's Vera, and we always say, what would Vera do? Like, kind of like, what would Jesus do? Because we know that her heart is pure. She just gives and gives and gives. Like, you go and see her little message board, and everybody's just saying, oh, thank you so much for the gift, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you for the trade, thank you for the GP, which is just like the money in the game. So it's just like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to be like someone who, when they think of, they say, oh, she's so kind, she's so generous, she's so encouraging. And I just want that to be um, I guess, a legacy of mine. So I hope that I'm doing that. I hope that I'm encouraging you guys today to start painting with watercolor and just experiment and have fun and enjoy the gifts that God has given you, which, we can encourage each other and we can improve our talents that we've already been given, which is, I think, our talents are our passion for something, not necessarily the skills. Skills come with time. So if you have a passion for this, just keep going. Even if you think you're not good, everybody starts somewhere. And I started somewhere. I started um, just going for it and watching videos just like this, and being encouraged by others. Um, I always point people to Paul Clark's videos because I learned a lot through his. And he's funny, and he has great music. I don't have no music because every time I put music, I get like, nope. They take my videos down, so no music for me. But let's look at my little puppy one more time because she's so precious. Little. Maybe I'll let her come in here someday, but she would totally eat stuff in here. She's one that eats trash. She eats things. She's a bad girl sometimes. But we love her. She's very caring and sweet. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Just know that I love you and I pray for you guys.